Your full name and spell your last name for me.
My name is John UMLAUF, and the last name spelling is UMLAUF.
Okay. And you went to OCS at Fort Eustis. What can you tell me about that?
It was a life-changing experience. I started, I think, in January and ended July 19th.
Of what year?
1967.
Okay. And tell me about going to OCS. What was the experience of arriving there?
It's indescribable. It was a well-organized educational process to develop officers.
And you were telling me a story out in the hallway. What story were you going to tell me?
A story
about OCS. Tell me something about something that happened. Tell me a story of something interesting that happened during OCS.
There was a lot of interesting things that happened, from the physical training to the technical training, from weaponry right through to transportation, aircraft, trucks, amphibians in particular. It was a broad spectrum of education throughout the transportation world. Yeah.
So what did you do on the boats?
Well, my actual experience in boats was in Vietnam. We were in charge of the barks, the 60-10 amphibians on the demilitarized zone. And we had some of the training here and at Fort Story with the LCM, with the LARC 5s, the LARC 15s, and the BARC 60s.
So how did the training at OCS help you work with the BARC?
Well, you were introduced to all of them and how they worked and how they performed through rough surf conditions, and how they, the types of cargo they carried, how you had to strap it down. We did training with the Air Force with the C-130s and tied the cargo down and became weightless at some point. And it was just a very intense but very thorough training session.
And what would you tell somebody today who was thinking about going through OCS?
Well, I'd encourage it very much, and in particular transportation, because you touch so many of the other disciplines. You supported infantry, artillery, armor, general port facilities. You crossed a broad spectrum of other military disciplines. It was a life-changing experience.
That's cool. Okay, so what did you get in trouble for?
Everything.
Tell me a story.
No, I never got in trouble. Trouble was not something you got into in OCS. It wasn't about trouble. It was about discipline and accountability and performance and teamwork.
Did you have to eat a square meal?
I don't recall. They weren't worth eating square. We had, but the meals were better there than in Vietnam, where we had sea rations. So yeah.
True. I heard a story about them having to, you had to eat it a certain way, and you had to keep your eyes straight forward. But that must have been before you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are the old guys.
Yeah. So what class were you?
15-67.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did you do? Did you go to Vietnam afterwards?
Right after. Right.
And you were assigned as what in Vietnam?
I was originally assigned to the 159th Transportation Battalion. We were in Quy Nhon, which was a lot of activity, not a lot of risk. And then we were there for the Tet Offensive. And then our battalion was sent to the demilitarized zone, right up against the DMZ, Qua Viet River, to support all the troops and all the Marines in Khe Sanh, Camp Carroll, Dong Ha, Quang Tri, Hue Phu Bai, Camp Evans. And that was the beginning of Operation Pegasus, which broke the siege of Khe Sanh in April of 1968.
Okay, cool. That's good. Good.
What did you retire as?
How long did you stay in the Army?
2 years.
And you retired, and you left at what rank?
First lieutenant.
First lieutenant. And then what did you do after that?
I actually was a CPA, a certified public accountant, and had my own firm in a little town called Williamstown, Massachusetts.
Yeah. Okay, cool.